Well, welcome back to Conversations with My Sisters. I'm having a blast throughout these weeks, being able to sit down with some people and talk about their lives. I'm so honored not only just to sit with them, but for actually when people feel entrusted and open up to share about their own personal lives, I take it as such an honor. So I'm really excited that this week we have a really great guest from my friend Nicole. She's going to be on the show, so stick around. You're not going to want to miss this. Super excited because today we have a special young lady that I've got to see grow up from like 16 to now 21, Miss Nicole Stark.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So excited. So Nicole, share a little bit with us about who you are, your story, anything you'd like to share.
Sweet. Well, I'm 21, like Becca said. I used to play basketball in high school, which is pretty dope. And now I work at our church, which is super cool. I work with high school and middle school, and that's a lot of fun. Yeah. And I do CrossFit, which is super important about my life. You need to know. I'm very She's very
Not over-exaggerating
that
at all one bit. Nicole, so you just said, so I shared that I got to see you grow from 16 to now 21.
Yeah.
A big year you just had.
Yeah.
So I want to know, so thinking about who to bring on and what to talk about, you came to my mind. And gosh, one of the things I love about you is just seeing, I value so much being able to have seen you grow up and transition from high school life to young adult life. And to see all the things that God has done for you. And some may think, looking from the outside, that, okay, you're involved in ministry, you're 21. A lot of people would think 21 is an age where it's like, why would you be involved in church so much, right? But tell us about, how did you get to this place? What was it like going from high school to now 21 working at a church?
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned, I played basketball, and I met Becca when I was 16 years old, and that was such a transitional point in my life. When I was 16, I decided to no longer play basketball and jump into what we called volunteering at church, which was a very tough decision for me. I played basketball my whole life, and I actually got scholarships to play, and decided, you know what, through the direction of the Lord, He said, join ministry and volunteer, and so I did. Pastor Art was the one I went to, and I said, hey, can I volunteer for you? And one of the first things he told me was, yeah, can you paint the roof? I was like, paint the roof?
Anything but that.
Yeah, I was like, anything, because I wanted to preach, I wanted to do all these things, and he's like, yeah, paint the roof and watch my kids. And in my head, I'm like, homie, you tripping. But I did it, and I continued to seek the Lord, and I said, God, whatever you want me to do, I'm gonna do. And through time, and through months and years, the Lord finally opened doors for me to do different things other than painting roofs.
Yeah, so one of those things, Mina, I wanted to touch on was that recently you were asked this winter, there's always big winter youth camps going on. You were asked to come and speak at that and to be an adult speaker, to speak to junior high and high schoolers. Like, did you ever think in high school that you would have that opportunity in that platform?
No, yes and no. Yes, because I knew that's where God wanted me to be, and no, because I never thought like, oh, it's actually possible.
Yeah.
Because I also walked through a lot of things in my life where there's so many discouragement, many moments where I felt like I couldn't do it. So many people said I couldn't do it because of how young I was. And it's so cool to be able to walk and just trust God and to continue to just say yes to Him and watch Him open these doors.
All those opportunities.
Yeah.
So many people may think and see, like, you see, the stage, or you have this great opportunity, you're going to be speaking. Is that something that happens overnight? Is that something that, what was probably the most difficult situation or hurdle that you had to overcome? Because some may think, okay, I want to do that. Well, where's my opportunity? Why do I have to paint the roof, or why do I have to watch people's kids?
Right. It definitely wasn't an overnight thing. For me, it actually was like 4 or 5 years. And probably the hardest part that I had to go through was not giving up. Because there were so many moments in my life where people would say, you're 17, you're 18. And I didn't go to school at that time, nor did I work. So there's so many moments when people were like, why aren't you going to school? Why aren't you going to work, doing what everyone else is doing? And there was moments where I was like, I want to quit, I want to stop, I want to just please everybody else and do what seems normal. But then there was this place in my heart, this thing. I was always raised not to quit. My dad always told me, do not quit. And so I think having that instilled in me, I was like, whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stick to it, and I know God is faithful.
Yeah.
I just knew He was faithful because He spoke to me, I knew I heard Him, and I knew if I just stepped right through it, then He was gonna come out. And 4 years later,
Look at that, look at
it's
now.
right here, yeah, so it's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what would you say, because I know there's a lot of people that could be watching, maybe even some young adults, some girls that are in high school, you know, maybe just graduated high school, like a position that you were in, and maybe they're thinking like, you know, if this, maybe they want to continue ministry, but they're like, it's not normal, or they kind of feel out of place. What would you tell them?
I think do what you believe God is telling you to do. I think if God says stay in ministry, listen, I realize that if you do what God says, it's always worth it. And I've ran into people who, first when I was 18, I told them what I was going to do. They would look at me and give me the craziest looks, like, what are you doing?
Why?
Right, exactly. But now, 3 years later, I talk to them and they're no longer doing what they were doing.
Wow.
They're lost, and I'm still where I'm supposed to be. And the coolest thing of it all is I have this joy, this sense of, man, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I wake up every morning and I go to work and it's the best thing ever. I love it. But I think for me, it's just staying where you're supposed to be and just do it. What's God telling you, and do it. No matter what voices are around you, do what God is telling you.
I love there's a saying that, you know, we, as believers, you want to hear at the end, well done, good and faithful servant, but in order to hear that, you have to do something. You have to actually be, you know, willing to step out in faith and do something. So, gosh, thank you so much for sharing and just being honest about, you know, and transparent. And I know a lot of people that are watching are going to be able to identify and say, maybe, you know, hey, I'm not weird. Like I'm not normal. I am normal. Like there are other people that have the same path and a similar destiny. So thank you so much for sharing
Thank you for
that.
having me.
Yes, go for it. So stay tuned. We'll have more coming up.
Man, I love nothing more than being able to see and witness young people say yes to Jesus and walk out their calling in their lives, no matter what people are telling them around them. I just love it, and Nicole is a perfect example of that. I love when she mentioned the importance of staying in your lane. That's so important in any facet of life, because I truly believe that when you are faithful with the little God gives you, He'll give you much more. So I hope that this was able to encourage you and inspire you to see that God is faithful, and no matter where you are in your life, He wants to see you succeed. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I hope that one day you'll share your story with someone too.